How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another God of War Ragnarok video. Now before we jump into things, I just wanted to give you guys another reminder that I am doing a God of War Ragnarok giveaway, and all you have to do is be a subscriber of the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and then follow the link in the description down below. So good luck to everyone that enters, and let's go ahead and get right into it. Now today's video is going to be a little bit different because today, unfortunately, I'm reporting on some bad news for God of War Ragnarok. Now, depending on who you are and what platforms you decide to follow, you may or may not have noticed that there are a ton of leaks for God of War Ragnarok. I reported on it briefly in my last video that some people have already gotten their hands on some physical copies of the game, but things have escalated even further now and leaks have gotten completely out of hand. There are some major story points of God of War Ragnarok that have been completely leaked. I'm talking like final boss fights and like the ending of the game, and pretty much anything that you don't want to be spoiled on has been spoiled out there on the internet already. And it's gotten so out of hand that a lot of people are wondering why Sony is kind of just sitting back and they're not really doing much to stop this. For example, we have Legacy Killa HD, who's another big YouTuber. He says Sony really needs to change how they send big game releases to retailers. What we're seeing right now with God of War is similar to the devastating Last of Us 2 leaks. Yet again, their biggest game of the year is being spoiled nearly 2 weeks before launch. Tragic stuff. And then we have Tom Henderson, who's a gaming journalist, and he said Ragnarok versus Kratos Thor leaked fight scene now has over 2.3 million views in 24 hours on YouTube. And then he continued asking why Sony hasn't done a DMCA takedown on it yet, which was a very good point. And all these leaks plastered all over YouTube and Reddit did get an official response from Santa Monica Studios. They said, as we approach launch, it is important for our studio to preserve the experience of God of War Ragnarok for players who want to enjoy the game for the first time without spoilers. We ask that you please be considerate of the many fans who do not want to accidentally see clips, gameplay, or narrative spoilers and avoid sharing them wider. We are doing our best to limit the exposure of unsanctioned footage and screenshots, but the reality is that we cannot catch everything. For those of you who do not want to risk seeing anything before launch, we strongly advise that you mute any keywords or hashtags associated with the game until release. We appreciate the support that you've shown us more than we can say. We can assure you it will be worth the wait to experience the game yourself when it's released in less than 2 weeks on November 9th. Thank you, Santa Monica Studios. So I guess that confirms that they are going to be doing takedowns on leaks, but at this point the damage has already been done. I have constantly been getting recommended spoilers on my YouTube feed. I've gotten the Thor fight recommended to me at least 20 plus times from 20 different accounts. So once that footage got out there, there's only so much they can do. And no matter what happens, there are going to be douchebags in the community. That's just how it always goes. That is why for this video and all my God of War videos, I'm turning the comments off until the release date, because in my last video there were a couple douchebags that were replying to every single comment with spoilers for the game, and I'm not putting up with that. I know people like to comment on videos and it helps me out in the algorithm if people comment, but I have a zero tolerance policy for spoilers. If you go out of your way to spoil something for someone that's excited for a game or a movie, you're just a shitty person, and I have absolutely no respect for you, so that is why the comment section is turned off. But that is not all. We also have Cory Barlog, who was the game director of the last God of War 2018. He's been tweeting out a lot of his frustrations when it comes to the leaks. Cory is an executive producer on God of War Ragnarok, so he's still very much involved in the release of this game. He says, you know, right now I can really understand the benefit of having just an installer on the physical disc. Shake my head. And what he's referring to there is the controversy going on with Call of Duty Modern Warfare, where the physical disc is basically useless and it just works as an installer, so you have to download the whole game off the internet. And a lot of people aren't happy about that. But then he continued on saying, a retailer selling the game nearly 2 weeks before release, just so disappointing. Sorry to everyone that you have to dodge the spoilers if you want to play the game fresh. Completely fucking stupid that you have to do this. This is not how any of us at Santa Monica Studios wanted things to go. Then he says, to be clear, I was expressing my frustration in the first tweet, not advocating for that at all. Not the future I want as a gamer or a developer. Just so beyond frustrated, it feels terrible for the team. The whole ordeal is incredibly stressful for us all. Mental health break time. Yeah, so Cory is pretty upset, and rightfully so. But in my opinion, I think a lot of this has to do with Sony and how they handled things. For some reason, Sony was giving out review copies like a whole month in advance to the game's release. They were doing all those pre-reviews where they were letting big YouTubers in the media play the game for like 5 to 6 hours and give their impressions on it. And then they had the entire rest of the month to beat the game and review it by November 3rd. And when you give the game out a whole month in advance, it doesn't matter if people sign NDAs or not, there are going to be leaks out there. For example, anytime I've gotten a review code to cover a game on my channel, companies normally like to give you the game maybe 4 to 5 days before the game's release, or a week tops before the game's release, and then you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement saying that you agree you won't tell anyone that you have the code. They don't even want you to mention that you have a code because they just want to keep everything under wraps. But for some reason, Sony didn't do it that way, and people were tweeting out that they had review codes, and all these big YouTubers and stuff are bragging that they were playing the game, and when you do that, you have all these fans that are going to be pestering the crap out of the creators for spoilers and information about the game. If you announce that you have it, then everyone knows that you have it, and that's when shady things happen. People can bribe you for information. People can do shady things behind the scenes. People will legitimately pay for information about the game, or pay for screenshots or cutscenes or gameplay, and the whole situation is just really odd. I think Sony should have done what everyone does and literally wait a week before the game's release date. That would have saved them a lot of time and hassle. And then when it comes to the retailer side of things, yes, you're going to have some stores selling it a little bit early because there are mistakes like that happen, but I used to work at Target and Best Buy when I was in college, and I know how the warehouse kind of works. And when I worked at Best Buy, we would take all the inventory off of the truck, and we didn't know what was in any of the boxes. So after we got everything off the truck, we would open up all the boxes and then put them into different piles before we sent them out into the store. Well, when we got a new shipment of video games, it would just be an entire box of said video game. So I worked at Best Buy back in 2014. So an example of a game we would get would be like Destiny or Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, and it would just be an entire huge box full of nothing but copies of the same game. And they would show up sometimes 2 weeks early before release, and then they would just sit in the back of the warehouse where any of the warehouse employees could probably steal a copy if they wanted. And I know that this definitely goes down at Amazon because those games will show up way early and they'll sit there for the longest time, and they just make them so easy to steal that it happens just left and right. So yeah, we're in the final stretch. The game comes out next week. If you don't want to be spoiled, then just stay off of all social media, stay off of Twitter, stay off of Reddit, even stay off of YouTube if you have to. And I know it's really hard to avoid spoilers, but trust me, just try your best to avoid them, because when you play the game yourself, it's going to make it way better when you experience it firsthand versus if you get spoiled over the internet seeing some tweet or watching some clip on YouTube. But that is going to do it for this video, everyone. If you guys enjoyed it, then please give it a thumbs up. I'm going to be covering a lot of God of War going forward, so if you don't want to miss out on any news, tips and tricks, guides, ranking videos, you name it, all things God of War, hit that subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications. Follow me on Twitch at Sony Plays Games Live and join the channel's Discord. And that is going to do it for me, everyone, and I will talk to you all next time.